Okay, so we have already covered the four Satipaṭṭhāna objects, Kaya, the body, Vedana, the feelings, Pitta, the consciousness, and Dhamma, natural phenomena. Okay? Mm. So now, in essence, when we summarize these four objects, essence is just nama rupa dhamma, mental physical nature. Mm. Mm. So in our practice, when we note these four objects, we note them in terms of their mental physical nature. uh, So, like the kaya, body. So you note the elements in terms of their physical nature: hardness, softness, roughness, smoothness, heat, cold, support, pressure, tightness, and so on. Okay? And then Vedana, in terms of its mental nature, the mental experience of pleasantness, unpleasantness, neutralness. uh, Pitta, in terms of its mental nature, nature of knowing, knowing of object. And then Dhamma, in terms of the various mental physical nature. uh, So, so these are the four Satipatthana objects. Because there's four objects, so therefore there's also four anupassana, four so-called contemplation. Mm. Mm. So, so contemplation of body, contemplation of feelings, of consciousness, and of dhammas. Now, for yogis who follow the samatayana, so that means they develop samatha first, and then after that switch over to vipassana. Okay? So for this type of yogis, uh, when they switch over to practice vipassana, switch over from samatha to vipassana. So because they have already developed uh, some degree of concentration, the samatha jhanas, okay? So their mind has enough steadiness, sharpness, and clarity. Okay? So when they switch over from samatha to vipassana, they can immediately able to practice chittanupassana and dhammanupassana. Okay? Mm. So, but for yogis like us here who follow vipassana yana, so when you begin your practice of developing vipassana, because the mind is not yet established uh, in kanika samadhi. Okay? So there's not yet steadiness, the sharpness, the clarity of mind. Okay? So you cannot begin with chittanupassana or dhammanupassana. Okay? So so you begin instead with kayanupassana. Use kayanupassana, contemplation of the body as a foundation to develop mindfulness and concentration. Okay? Because uh, the body is a very gross and clear object. It's very easy for the mind, even when the mind is not yet developed. It's easy for the mind to be able to discern it, take it as an object, and contemplate it, note it continuously. Okay? So because of the mind is able to note it continuously, then is able mindfulness can develop, and then a concentration can develop. Okay? So if you start with subtle objects like chitta, like dhamma, and the mind does not have sharpness and clarity yet to discern it clearly and continuously, and the mindful noting cannot occur continuously, then the mindfulness cannot develop, concentration cannot develop. Okay? And so when you begin, you use a gross object like the body. So you use that as a foundation in order to develop mindfulness and concentration. Okay? As for Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana, so you only practice this when you have developed sufficient mindfulness and concentration. When the mind has enough clarity, enough strength and continuity, then only you'll be able to practice Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana. Now, as for contemplation of feelings, Vedananupassana. So we practice this throughout our practice, okay? Right from beginning until the end. Okay? Mm. So, as we said before, Vedananupassana is uh, very important to keep us on track of the practice. Okay? So, if we do not contemplate or note the feeling as they arise, the mind will be carried away by pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling, uh, or even lost in the neutral feeling. Mm. So then our practice will not be steady. Yeah, you keep getting distracted, okay? So you cannot stay on track. Okay? So, so Vedananupassana, we practice it as and when feeling is prominent. Okay? Mm. So, in the beginning of the practice, uh, is mostly contemplation of gross physical feeling, gross bodily feeling, uh, like pain, mm, mm, and of course, occasionally also bodily comfort. uh, mm. Yeah. Then there's also a mental joy or mental sorrow, and that may arise with the experience of pleasant or unpleasant object. Okay? Mm. So, so on this occasion, now we must note the feeling that arise so that the mind does not get carried away. Right? Mm. Now, but as the practice develop, so that means as the mindfulness, as the concentration and clear knowledge develops, and then you need to watch out also for the more subtle spiritual feelings that arise with the development of the practice, and development of concentration, or development of insight. Okay? So these are the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral feeling connect with the development of concentration or insight. Okay? So for example, with the development of concentration, uh, peacefulness, so tranquility, so pleasant feeling may arise. Okay? So those feelings, you must be aware of it, okay? And note it, so that the mind does not become attached to it, so that the mind can see clearly the nature of this feeling. Okay? Mm. Also, feeling that arise with the development of clear knowledge, of insight. Okay? Like for example, in the third insight, samasana jnana. So yogi may experience a lot of dukkha vedana. Okay? So, or in udaya bhaya jnana, where the yogi often experience a lot of Sukha Vedana. Okay? Mm. And then from uh, mm, Bayanyana, Adinavanyana, Nibidanyana, all the way to this Disankanyana. So the Dukkanyana predominates the experience. So at that time, a lot of Dukkha Vedana arise. Okay? And be very overwhelming. Huh? Mm. And then Sankarupikanyana, because of the equanimity, experience of equanimity. huh? Then it's more of a neutral feeling that arises. Okay? Mm. So when this feeling that arises with the development of insight becomes prominent, they must be noted too. Okay? Mm. So at that time, you're doing Vedana Nupassana, contemplation of feelings. Mm. So what do we do with these four objects? So according to the instruction given by Buddha in the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, so we are to uh, contemplate them. Okay. Mm. So, yeah, so the instruction in the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta, the Buddha says, Paye kaya nupasi viharati atapi sampajano satima vinaya loke abhijado manasam. Okay, so that means the yogi he dwells in the contemplation of the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay? So this is the instruction for Kayanupasana, contemplation of the body. Okay? So and the same instruction also applies for the other three objects. Okay? So Vedana su Vedana nupasi viharati, Chitta Chitta nupasi viharati, Dhammesu Dhamma nupasi viharati. Atapi sampajana satima vinayalokya bijado manasa. So it dwells contemplating feeling in feelings, consciousness in consciousness, Dhamma in Dhammas. Ardent, clearly comprehending, mindful, overcoming covetousness and grief with regards to the world. Okay? So the instruction is to dwell contemplating these four objects. Okay? So this is what we do with these four objects. To contemplate them. It means to note them. Okay, so let's explore this instruction further. So first, Buddha says the yogi dwells in the contemplating the body in the body. Yeah. So if you dwell, viharati. So now, if you dwell in a place, what does it mean? So it means that you stay put in that place, you live in that place, you stay put there continuously. Okay? So you are not moving about here and there, going to this place or that place. So you're staying put there. So, and dwelling in a place also means you're not visiting the place. If you visit the place, you only come, you stay maybe 1 day, 2 days, and then you leave. Okay? So you don't stay there continuously. Okay? Mm. So to dwell means to stay put, remain in that place. continuously. Okay? So, mm, so the instruction to dwell, contemplating body in the body. Yeah. This means train the mind to remain in the state of contemplating the object for extended period of time, or the whole duration of your meditation. Okay? So the whole mind must continuously stay in the state of contemplation. Okay? That's what it means to dwell in contemplation. Okay? So for example, so when you do sitting meditation, right? So you sit for an hour. So 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 in that 1 hour, the mind, if you are to practice the Buddha's instruction properly, the mind must continuously dwell in the state of contemplation for that whole hour. So if your primary object is rising, falling, that means for the whole hour, the mind must continuously dwell in noting rising and falling. So you must continuously not rising, 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 falling, 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 continuously for the whole hour. Okay? So if in between the rising and falling there is a gap, so in that gap you must go and note. You must not noting. You must go and note other sensation like touching, touching, or sitting, sitting. So you must be rising, 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 rising. Then if there's a gap, touching, touching, or sitting, sitting, and then when falling begins, falling, 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 falling. If there's a gap again, you not touching, touching, or sitting, sitting. Okay, so you must go on like this continuously without a break. Yeah? If your primary object is sitting, touching, then for the whole hour, continuously, you must not sitting, 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 touching, 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 sitting, sitting, and so on, continuously, uh, without a break. Yeah? So the mind must continuously dwell uh, in the contemplation, in the work of noting. Okay? Mm. So, and this applies also when you're noting the secondary object. Okay? And so as you're noting the primary object, the secondary object should arise like pain immediately, the mind, without a gap in the continuity, without a break in the continuity of noting. Immediately the mind turn to the pain and note it, note continuously, pain, 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 note until it disappear. And the moment it disappear, without a break, immediately the mind turns back yeah, to note the primary object again. So, mm, and similarly, in the walking meditation, so you do 1 hour of walking for that whole hour. So the mind must be continuously doing the work of noting and dwelling in the work of noting. Okay? So you're not lifting, 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 pushing, 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 placing, 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 touching, touching, touching. Then body shift, not shifting, shifting, shifting. Then again lifting, 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 pushing, pushing, and so on. You must go on continuously. Okay? So when you reach the end of the path, you want to stop, you must no intention to stop. As the whole body come to a stop, you're not stopping, stopping, stopping. Okay? So when you're standing there, you must not standing, 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 standing. And when you want to turn, you're not intention to turn. When the body turns, you're not turning, 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 turning. So when it's finished turning, it's standing again, not standing, 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 standing. And then when intention to walk again, no intention, and then you continue noting, lifting, 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 pushing, pushing, and so on. And so the noting must go on continuously like this for the entire hour. uh. So in this way, you dwell in the contemplation of the body. So walking meditation is a contemplation of the body. Okay? Similarly, in your daily activities too. Okay? So whatever activities that you are doing uh, in that moment, so your whole mind must be with that activity, contemplating it, noting it continuously. Okay? So like when eating, so you must be aware as the arm stretches out, stretching, 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 stretching. And yeah, scooping when it's not scooping, scooping, scooping. When bringing the food towards the mouth, you must start bringing, 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 bringing. When the body lean forward towards the food, you must not leaning, leaning, leaning. So when the mouth open, not opening, opening. When you put in, not putting in. When you withdraw, not withdrawing, withdrawing. So when you start chewing, not chewing, chewing, chewing. So whatever taste arises as you chew, you're not tasting, tasting, tasting. Whatever texture of the food you can listen. So you notice when the tongue move, pushing the food here and there. Yes, not pushing, pushing. Mm, mm. So so when you swallow the food, not swallowing, swallowing, swallowing. Mm. So when the food go in, you can feel the sensation. So that also must be noted. Mm. So in this way, note continuously the whole process. That is dwelling in the work of contemplation. Okay? So you must do this for every single activity in your meditation in daily activities. Okay? Mm. Mm. Then, so as we said before, throughout each day in a retreat. Okay? So vipassana in a vipassana retreat, the work of contemplation must go on continuously throughout the day. From the first moment you wake up until you fall asleep at night. Okay? So that means throughout the day, the mind dwell continuously in the work of contemplation. Okay? So you do not take your mind away from the work of contemplation to dwell on other things like thinking, thinking about maybe what happened before the retreat, or what is happening right now at home, okay? What is happening right now in the world, or planning what you're going to do after the retreat finish. Yeah? So, so when you think about all this, the mind is not dwelling in the work of contemplation. It's dwelling in something else, yeah, other than the work of contemplation. Okay? So in order to follow the instruction of the Buddha, to dwell in the work of contemplation, so you must make effort to ensure that the mind is continuously noting, noting, contemplating the body, the feeling, uh, consciousness, or the dhammas, whatever that arise prominent in the present moment. Okay? Mm. Mm. So the instruction is to dwell, contemplating body and so on. Okay, so now, what does it mean to contemplate? Mm. Mm. So here, the original Pali is anupassana. Okay, so that is translated into English usually as contemplate or contemplation. Okay? So I think the Bahasa translation mengamati is a much better translation. To watch closely. So, mm, but the English translation, contemplate, can be quite misleading. Okay? So, because if you check the dictionary, uh, contemplate means to think, think about something, to consider something, or to reflect on something. That is to contemplate. Okay? So it involves thinking. The meaning involves thinking. Okay? So now I found that some uh, yogis, so because they are very new in the practice and they have not really learned uh, properly the method of meditation from a teacher. Mm. So they just take the sutta and not even the sutta in the original Pali, but translation. Okay? And then they read the sutta, and then they practice accordingly. So when they read this translation, they contemplate, uh, then they get the wrong idea that to meditate means to think about the body, think about the feeling and so on. Okay? So instead of directly observing the experience in the moment clearly, I stop to think about the experience. Okay? And if this person, sometimes they have some knowledge because they read a lot, they have some knowledge of the Dhamma. But so they may think. When they observe the experience, they think about it. Then they may think, oh, just now there was pain. uh, and now the pain is no more. That's anicca. uh, so they think that this is insight into anicca. This is not insight, this is thinking. Okay? So, or they may say, oh, I do not want the pain, but the pain keep coming. I cannot control it. This is anatta. uh, This is thinking. This is not insight into anatta. Okay? Mm. So, mm, so by thinking, you're not actually experiencing the true nature of the mental physical phenomena as they really are. Okay? So, so anupassana does not mean thinking. Okay? Mm. Because besides not being able to experience clearly nature as it is by thinking also it tends to bring in uh, all the personal prejudice or personal preference about the object you are noting. So instead of just seeing the object as it is, you see the object according to how you think it should be, how you feel it should be, your own personal preference and prejudice about the object. So such way of looking at the object is not helpful for the development of insight. Okay? Mm. Mm. So to understand what does it mean to contemplate, you go back to the original Pali, anupassana. So you go back to this anupassana, meaning is very clear. Okay? So anupassana, there's the prefix anu, and then pasana is like a verbal noun. So pasana means seeing. Okay? Seeing here doesn't mean seeing with the eyes. It means seeing with the mind. uh, It means seeing or discerning with mindfulness. Mm. Mm. So what it means is nothing. Okay? Nothing. With mindfulness, discerning with mindfulness. Okay? Mm. And then the prefix anu means something like following. So that means one noting, following another, following another, following another, on and on. So that means continuous noting. uh, Noting continuously, moment to moment to moment, without a gap. That is the meaning of Anupassana. That's what it means when you read the translation contemplate. Okay? It means continuous noting without a gap. So only if the noting is continuous, uh, then the mindfulness, concentration, and clear knowledge develops and deepens. Okay? So, so to contemplate really means to note continuously, to listen continuously with mindfulness, moment to moment to moment, without a gap. Okay? As we explained just now when we were explaining about dwelling. Okay? Mm. So, and to note and listen means without thinking. Okay? So when you note the object, just note it as it is without thinking. However the object appear, take note of it as it is, uh, without any thinking. Okay? Note it with a open mind. Okay? A mind that's completely open without any preconceived idea about how it is supposed to be. Okay? Without any thinking, without any analysis of what you experience. Okay? But simply be completely open to the experience, to the object, accepting it as it is, surrendering into it, taking in the experience as it is. Okay? That's the meaning when we say to contemplate. Mm, Okay, we stop here today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.